The money that I'm gonna make and my productivity in business is tied to my ability to have that clarity. And I can only find it whenever my body's on fire, my mind is clear, and my family is in check. That ego, that buffalo, I'm hunting one of the most dynamic, ingrained, habitual animals in the world. You're talking about like 20 years of freaking medical school for them to be able to take their script pad out and write a medication or a prescription for them to diagnose cancer. The whole game here is how can you be the best version of yourself? Because the purpose here is for you to be able to show up 100% on fire for your laboratory. And you need a laboratory that supports that and understands that. Sales reps don't trust the lab owners or laboratories because labs tend to tell stories about what their capabilities are. Their testing menu, their technology, their ability to integrate, their marketing, their commitment to the sales rep's leadership, their sales culture. I've taken laboratories literally out of the sand from nothing to 8 figures. And in a sales position, I'm taking them from $20 million to $300 million in revenue. And my comp was changed 4 times. The good guys aren't talked about. The good laboratories, honestly, they stay under the radar and nobody knows who the hell they are. Insert now sales rep into the equation. This person's coming to be able to make a great living and they don't know what they're about to get hit with. They don't know if they're working for a good lab or a bad lab. And it's unfortunate because, unless you can dig deep and actually ask piercing questions, and unless you've been there before and you've been lied to before and you've been hurt before and you've got that scar on you, unless that's the t-shirt you're wearing, you'll never know it.
I think if you've been working for a laboratory that doesn't appreciate you anymore, that you feel like you've been passed over, that you know that you're playing small, that you have a lot more that you can give, that you have good ideas and you have a good strategy and that you're a great learner and a great leader, and that you just want more for yourself. You're just searching for more. You have a safe opportunity for you to take a look at.
What I got really passionate about is how can I automate a lead process? How can I turn on a spigot of qualified people who have watched my marketing videos or watched ads that connected inside of a problem that they had? If you go there and you're like, hey, look how smart I am, look at what I know that you don't know, they shut down. They say yes, they smile, thank you, I'll take your lunch and your coffee, but then you're like booted out of their life. And this is where Darren, you're gonna do your feelings. You're gonna start capturing the fear-based emotions. You're gonna start capturing the uncertainty. The impossible questions. The whole game that I'm trying to create and what I got super focused on was, can I get a closer, a bona fide, badass closer? Can I get them to stop driving 2 hours to a meeting? Can I get them to stop having to do lunches? Can I get them to stop doing all the busy work and just talk to doctors who had already said yes in their mind? You got to get them to paint their uncertainty. When you talk about seeds of doubt, you need to start fracturing what they can't control. And so the Core Academy was birthed with this idea that I can book my best sales reps with leads that already want what we're selling. So that way they can get in there, close, and create competence as fast as possible. We're gonna get to the results. What are the results that you actually want whenever this avatar? What's the actual result that you want?
At the end of the day, I want to be able to say, hey, either I understand why you are using these tests or why you're not, or you are using these tests because we were able to have that discussion.
2007 and 8, I was a banker. I was doing good. I was living the American dream. I was a newly married husband. looking forward to having children. My wife is an amazing mother, and I wanted her to be the mother of 6 kids. That was our plan, let's have 6 kids. We dated for a year, we were engaged for a year. And then when we got married, we had a hemorrhagic cyst that burst inside of her. So she had a medical problem. And so literally within about 3 weeks of us being married, we were already in the sickness and health vow. And so she had an emergency surgery, and that surgery, 30 days later, found out that there was some staph that was left behind. And so she had another emergency surgery, removed an ovary, removed the fallopian tube, and we were stuck after about 2 months of marriage contemplating fertility treatments. We got lucky. On Valentine's Day, we found out that we were pregnant, which it was like, our world moved. And then 23 and a half weeks later, another infection caused her to go into an early labor, and we ended up delivering twin girls, and we had Sophia for 12 hours, Charlotte for 72 hours. It was 3 days in a NICU unit, and then everything at that point, my entire life shifted. That's the pivotal point in my life where I can absolutely say that everything that happened before that event, it was different. I wasn't really prepared to deal with the grief. I sedated. I sedated with a couple of different things. I sedated with prescription pain medication. I played college football. I had broke my neck in college. It's easy for me to get pain medication, and so I did. And because I was depressed, I became dependent, and depression plus dependence equals addiction. And so for about 2.5 to 3 years, I self-medicated myself, and I worked my ass off. And none of that allowed me to be able to get down into where I needed to do the self-work for me to overcome the fact that I was just in pain over the tragedy of losing my girls. One day, I went to go refill my prescription medication, and the nurse knew something was going on, and she just put a simple drug test in front of me. And she said, "Mr. Blake, we're gonna need you to take a test." And so I peed in a cup, and the results were inconsistent with what she had been prescribing me. And so they sent it off to the laboratory, and when it came back, she called me in, and she shared the results with me, and it was the first time that I looked at a piece of paper and the data and realized that I couldn't lie anymore. The results on the paper were the truth, and for me, it was almost like a cry for help, because I knew what was going to happen, but I went along with it. And she refused to write me any more medication, as she should. And 12 hours later, I was on a plane, my wife and I going into a medical detox facility together. Because if I was going to kick the habit of using prescription pain medication, she couldn't be on it either, and she realized that. And while I was going through detox, I kept thinking about how important that data was, and how if we could put that data in the palm of physicians around the country's hands, what type of impact that could actually have on people. And so I think it's always about how do you present that data, and that's the feeling that I had. So whenever I got into banking, I gravitated towards private banking, and I gravitated towards banking doctors. I loved the idea of healthcare and the business of medicine. I've soaked up every aspect of it. I did physician-owned hospitals, physician-owned laboratories, physician-owned rehab facilities. I feel like whenever I got into lab, I was like made for it because I knew the economics of it. I knew the drivers of it. And literally, we did it without going to the bank. We did it because we understood the problem, and I believed in my sales ability enough that we could actually run the laboratory as well. So we bet on ourselves, and it worked out. And so we started expanding and hiring more sales reps and getting more success. And we go from 10 employees to 170 employees, and we go from 100 samples a week to 10,000 samples a month in about a year and a half. I believe that the reason why my daughters died and the reason why I became an addict was so that way I can take that story and that passion and that purpose and help educate doctors. Your patients are in pain, but they're not in pain because their back hurts. They're in pain because their soul hurts. They're in pain because they're grieving. They're in pain because they're depressed. I felt like it was a lesson I had to learn so that way I can take it and go share that pain with the world. And it was the first time I was introduced to pain shared as pain divided. And I think I healed by going out and converting these doctors. I think it was little by little, it got easier and easier for me to tell my story. And we go from making $4.5 million to $17 million to following up with another 8-figure year. And everything was great.
I got the whirlpool too.
All right, so look, we're going to multitask real quick, all right?
You need my help? What are you want me to do?
I'm going to pour some pancakes in right here.
Yum, yum, yum.
If you unpack the idea, if my end in mind is I need to have a laboratory that is committed to digital marketing so that way its best salespeople can close furiously and frequently, right? There's a lot to unpack. Oh, there we go. It's not just about closing them. Everybody wants to close somebody. I'm telling you right now, it's easy to get someone to say yes. It's hard as hell to get them to stay yes. You've got to transform the energy inside of the doctor's office. You have to believe that you can transform the way that they currently practice medicine because they've got a way and you've got to be able to get in there, blend in there, and make your way now their new process. And they've got to experience zero pain. And at the end of the cycle, they got to say, thank you, I'm grateful, and be appreciative for your presence. It's hard. Morning time's the best time of the day for me because it's the start of the day. This is the opportunity for me to be able to get my day right. It's the earliest point. Nobody's triggered me. Nobody's got me aggravated. I'm not sad. I have an opportunity to be able to fix things. I plan communication. I plan conversations. I plan collisions. I had a football coach used to tell me, fatigue makes cowards of us all. And I never really got it until I was actually in business. Siri, play Moana soundtrack, please. I need salespeople who are actually four-dimensional human beings. There you are. You don't have to sit here and be completely committed to nutrition and working out every day. I'm not asking you to be a performance athlete. But at the end of the day, I need you to show up in power so that way you can convert a physician's mindset. Leaves the island gives us what? Because if you can convert a physician's mindset to use the laboratory that you work for, the good laboratory that you work for's product, then what ends up happening is you increase patient care. You make it better. You advance the ball forward.
I see what's happening here.
Technology and innovation move forward. Doctors are using better products, and it's all because you worked out, drank a green smoothie, and kissed your wife and daughter on the cheek. It's simple. It's just not easy.
Look at your feet. Do your feet look big?
When you go into a lab owner and he's like, I don't have time to do any of this. I was like, you got $10 an hour?
Yeah, you don't
You
need
got,
that.
you got $7 an hour?
And that's where I was going with it.
Basically, talk about a client, and as we talk about a client, we realize the things that they don't have are the things that we need. And on one side of the paper, we're basically going to go ahead and put, like Joe just said, we have to define the crawl, the walk, and the run. Part of what we do at the Core Academy is we assess and meet laboratories where they currently are, and we kind of break them into 3 different buckets: crawl, walk, run. So we'll start with the one that we know the best, which is clear molecular. All right. The needs that they need the most is they need a website, they need social media. And so a lot of laboratories are brand new, nothing against you. You're crawling. You're still trying to implement your LIMS system. You've made a bunch of money in COVID. You're trying to cross over with your equipment into PCR testing. Or maybe you're a walk laboratory where you've been in business for 4 or 5 years, your revenues are healthy, you have a sales force, 8 to 15 salespeople, they're doing well, but you're trying to figure out now how to bring in digital marketing. You're trying to figure out how do we actually create lead sources and sell through white papers and case studies. Like it's not even like $1 in, $3 out. It's like they pay sales reps to go and fight a holy war on their own with no support, and they get mad at them when they don't make them enough money. That's the thing that we're trying to straighten out here, is so that way the sales reps can actually go and do their job and convert. Laboratories don't do digital marketing right now. Laboratories are not running ads. They are not retargeting their clients. They're not teaching their sales reps to hop in Facebook groups and in LinkedIn groups. And they're not teaching them how to hunt for leads that way, which is a huge opportunity that's being missed right now.
I've sat in those meetings. If you ask them the questions like that and you get blank stares, you have to go to them and push.
But that's why they pay us.
That's
So
right.
They don't have to sit in those
You have
meetings.
to push them that strategy and just go, this is our recommendation for you.
You have to be a modern marketer in today's world because your message matters too much.
Precision medicine requires precision diagnostics. Precision diagnostic is very important.
Part of this is like gold mining.
In next-gen sequencing, economy of scale is very important.
What's the best new opportunity that's compliant, that's medically necessary, and that is repeatable and trainable for a sales force? One of the key things that his test will do, he said, if you've been diagnosed with cancer and your physician starts treatment and he doesn't do this test, I consider that malpractice. He said because my test finds the inhibitors and the biomarkers that actually make the medication work.
He doesn't have the attention of cancer doctors. Why?
Because he hasn't connected what happens inside of his laboratory to how it actually heals patients, and the pain that cancer causes or the pain that the treatment causes that his testing can minimize.
And what does he need to be able to make that connection?
He needs a microphone. He needs a megaphone.
He needs a megaphone.
And a fucking stage.
Got one of the most brilliant men in the world that is sitting on top of some of the best, most elite science in the world, and is not looking for a sales force. What he's actually looking is for an opportunity to have other laboratories partner with him. This is a man who actually helped set up NeoGenomics, like one of the godfathers of next-gen sequencing in our country. And laboratories have an opportunity to work with him and work with us to be able to set up not only the science and the compliance, but the sales marketing, and of course, the self-mastery that you need to have to be able to come with it. So we're heading to the Genomic Testing Cooperative. That's the second time. I was here 2 weeks ago. Super excited to come back because we're going to be talking more in detail about how to launch his testing program into multiple laboratories that we work with across the country. So where the Core Academy comes in is we are discovering these tests that are out there and these new methods and these new ways. And we have these sales people that actually hop into our funnels that apply for jobs, and they need to be placed with a laboratory. So then once we communicate the message, the next thing that's important for us to do with our clients is to capture their permission. So the structure here is, I send a message out. I don't really care if everybody likes it. The point is my message permeates, polarizes enough to where the people who stick around actually want it. And then after we capture their permission, now we start working on converting their mindset. So they have a current worldview. Their current worldview right now of oncology and of next-gen sequencing is maybe just hereditary cancer, germline, BRCA testing. Maybe it's what they know NeoGenomics does, and that's the only company they know that does it. And now we're about to do this, and we're going to show them that there's a whole new world. Yeah, so right now we're taking a tour of the laboratory. He's basically going to talk to us about what the equipment does and the type of testing that he does with the particular equipment.
For us, we like really to get the slides, and we scan the slides.
Where I'm going is I'm looking for 20 laboratories. We've been hearing more digital pathology, being able to use the AI and the power in the camera.
Right.
That's my goal, is to find 20 of the best laboratories out in the country that get what I'm saying, that want to work with the Core Academy, that are coming inside of our CRM, that are allowing me to train their sales reps, run their marketing programs, so that way we can all grow and win together. How is it that we allow the deck to be stacked so great against the little guy, right? So in a way, it's us against them.
This system allows you to make your own library, including PCR and amplification.
How can we decentralize what's going on right now with laboratory diagnostics and put some of the power, some of the technology, some of the innovation, and most of the patient care advancements back in the people that are actually in the regional hubs of innovation, like Dr. Albatar?
So we have different procedures for blood, different procedure for bone marrow, different procedures for cell-free DNA, different procedure for FFPE, for extracting DNA and RNA.
When we look at the key thing that your testing does for the oncology group, what's the key thing that the test and the report allows the physician to be able to do to treat the patient?
So first of all, we confirm the diagnosis. Second step, we can detect what molecular abnormalities that drive that tumor. That's what drives the therapy. If you start treating patient blindly, that's not acceptable practice today. Unfortunately, still 60% of patients with lung cancer, they don't get that testing, and they are getting therapy that is not effective. So we give a lot of information about precision medicine and targeted therapy.
How can we go ahead and put the power back? That's the Core Academy. That's what we're trying to do. It's a team that we're building. It's a community that we're building. It's a coalition that we're building. It's a cooperative that we're fulfilling.